Hi crafters, welcome to Paints and Glitter. My name is Raquel and I welcome you to my channel. Today I'm unboxing Tonic's craft kit number 100 and this is called You're the Best. I'm going to open this box and share what's inside and then we'll craft together. So this is the contents of this particular kit. Now, just to let you know, if you're brand new to Tonic Studios, the craft kit is a subscription, but you can purchase a one-off kit. Every 3 months, you're going to get a hard binder, but every month you will get a soft wallet like this one. You're always going to get a little goodie bag, and then you're going to get the wallet with the papers contained in your kit. So each month you'll get exclusive dies and other items, such as this month you're getting this gorgeous little 3D embossing folder, and this is a darling little bow. Here are the exclusive dies, so let me share that with you. So in your wallet here, you're getting 2 sleeves, as you can tell, but here's what these will look like. So here you see 2 different frames. One of them's a circle, and it does have stitching on the outside of the cutting line. This one is the oval with stitching on the outside of the cutting line as well. And then there's this little tag here. It has stitching on the inside, and it has a little layer piece that you can use on top. Then you're going to see a bunch of different florals. There's another little rectangular tag over here, and then there's this piece that will cut out the bow that you can then emboss with this embossing folder, which I think is really neat. So if you like dimension and you like florals, you're going to love this. So here you have the stamps included in this kit. It says Happy Mother's Day with a little heart and 2 little flowers. You are the best. Happy Mother's Day. Number 1 mom. Number 1 mum for those of you who live in the UK. Happy Mother's Day to the best mom ever. And these will fit in the little rectangular tags I mentioned. And then it's your birthday, birthday girl, another year of fabulous memories, happy birthday in the center. So these are really unique birthday sentiments. I really like those. I think they're quite adorable. And of course, the fact that they have a matching die makes it all the better. Let's take a look at what's inside the goodie bag. And while I'm opening this, let me let you know that if you're new to this channel, I invite you to subscribe so that you can see other tutorials for Tonic Studios products. I tend to make the 3D product and also card making, and any coloring that I can share, I'll be happy to do that as well, of course. So let's take a peek at what's in here. You have some Craft Perfect dimensional foam pads. These happen to be the 12mm wide squares, and they are 2mm thick, so they're a nice thickness to pop up any little embellishments, and you do get a total of 96 squares. There's also a 10-pack of cards. These are 300 GSM card blanks with envelopes, and they are the standard A2 size that's used in the US. You do get a total of 10, and I love that they're the 300 GSM card. They happen to be in bright white, by the way. Then you do get 3 inks. So these are the water-based dye inks from Nuvo. This is called Midnight Nocturne. This one's Cinnamon Flourish, and also Raspberry Crush with a dauber. So if you want to go ahead and color those little flowers that are included in your die set, you're going to be able to do that. Or if you want to maybe add color to the edges of your paper, you can definitely do that as well. Included in your paper wallet is this array of papers. Now, I want to mention that in your kit, you're going to receive a sticker and also a spec sheet that allows you to take a peek at the numbers that are in reference, and names, of course, in reference to these papers. I don't happen to have one, so I can't tell you exactly the names of all of them because I don't memorize them. However, I will tell you that these are the Craft Perfect papers that are 80 pounds in weight, and they do have a linen weave on one side. They're smooth on the other, so this is perfect for stamping on this side. And also, you do get a pearlescent paper here in this gorgeous rose color, a mirror card, as you can tell, in this beautiful rainbow, And then there's also this crimson red, which is a very popular satin card. And yes, you can purchase these separately. So if you want to go ahead and stock up on any one of these, you will be able to do so by purchasing the paper packs directly from Tonic Studios. And there's always some really excellent bundles, and they put them on sale every now and then. So you may want to take a peek at the page. Just for that, it's well worth it. So let's get crafting. I wanted to swatch out the inks for you so you get to see what these look like. So I have a piece of media mat here, and this is just a place where I can get messy, and it's covered in a surface here that will allow me to use heat or inks or anything like that. So this is the Cinnamon Flourish, and I'm just going to swipe this onto this piece of card so you get to see what the intensity of that color is straight on from the ink pad, which I think is kind of fun to do if you want to swatch out your colors. I think that's a gorgeous color, actually. Very, very pretty. Again, that one's Raspberry Crush. You get to see the intensity of that color there. And I'm trying to get, okay, so that is Midnight Nocturne. If you get to see the color there, you'll notice it's a very deep indigo blue. So very lovely. And of course those three colors together are really fun. So if you want to then die cut from here, for instance, you can take one of the floral die cuts and use that as the center of a flower. And I'll cut that out and share with you what that looks like. So now you see here how I've cut out the pieces of paper that I inked with the inks in the kit, the Cinnamon Flourish and that beautiful Raspberry Crush. So I've gone ahead and used the dies in the kit to cut out what will be the little toppers or centers of flowers. However, I want to take advantage of that ink, and here are some other pieces, by the way, so you can cut quite a few out. What I want to do is take the daubers included, and these do come in different packs. Now you're going to receive 2 in the kit, so I'm going to dedicate one of them to this Cinnamon Flourish. And I'm simply going to saturate this with that ink to help me with the application. And here's one of the flowers that you can cut out. And if you would like to, you can add some of this onto the center or the edges or both. And this is going to give you a really pretty look. And of course you can shape these if you would like to. Now I'm going to go a little bit heavier just on the edges of the petals, and this is perfect for this type of die cut. It gives you a nice smooth application. So I think that's really cute. I'm also going to use that same color on this petal here, which you can make as a singular flower or you can group several of them. Now if you would like to, you can add the same colors to some of the little pieces here that look like greenery, but they don't have to be green. So that's why I cut these out of white cardstock, and this is 300 GSM card. There are also these larger leaves. Now I'm moving on to that Raspberry Crush. And these stack together, but you can separate them obviously. Revisit the same pieces. If you would like to, you can also use a ball tool such as this one to shape your flowers a little bit before adhering them. So all you have to do in this case is flip them over to the negative side and just run that tool right over that paper, and it's going to give it some really pretty dimension. And you can do the same for these just by running that tool right over the edges of those petals. Again, just gently. If you'd like to, you can also spritz your paper with water. It's up to you. But I'm going to press in the center now. And this is where I'm going to adhere the center of that flower. It makes it easier to do it like this. And I'm going to grab a pink one to alternate the colors. So there's that one flower. And you can add it onto the stem, of course, but here's a smaller one. And on here, I'm going to simply add a tiny, tiny little bit of that ink on the edges. I don't think it's really necessary, but here I'm going to adhere the center or the top of that little flower. And that's where I use that orange ink and then cut it out with the matching die. So that'll top off like that. Very cute. And of course this can be added to that stem. For this one, I'm simply going to shape the top like so. And then this little piece will fit right on top. This is quite delicate, so here I'm going to add adhesive to those little points. And I really love this applicator because it helps me apply the adhesive perfectly. And this will match right along the bottom. This will match right here. Okay. I'm also going to use one of the sentiments. This is going to be a birthday card, so I'm going to use clear mark ink, and I'm going to heat emboss the sentiment. So of course you do need embossing powder, and there may still be some available through the Tonic website. You might want to check on that. And it did come in the same colors as all the papers, so if there's still some available, then I highly recommend it. But this is simply going to allow me to add this color, which is Blue Depths. And I'm going to sprinkle this on top. The excess. And you do have to prep your paper with anti-static powder before you do this, which I already did. You can now heat this to dry it. I've decided to make an aperture in my card with the circle die, and here I'm using the pearlescent card and that apricot orange card as well. In order for the apertures to match, what I can do is to ensure that I center the cut onto the cards, and I can layer them if I'd like to. Now, because this is pearlescent card, you may want to cover it with a piece of copy paper so you don't get any indentations in that pretty paper, because it's quite delicate. And what I'm going to do is to tack this on, and this is just a cheater method that I like to use. So placing a little drop of adhesive just in the center there, I'm now going to center this as best as I can onto the base card, and this will be on the front, of course. I'm going to center this here. I'm going to tack this down, making sure that my adhesive here my low tack adhesive faces the inside of this die as much as possible so that I don't get that marked paper there. So there I have my layer, and now what I can do is use that same layer and place it on top of my second paper that I'm going to use as my base. Here I can take a pencil and then just trace out this circle in the center so that I know where to place my die. I now have my base and my two layers with apertures on them. Okay, so I've cut my paper down so that it actually has a border around it. I did want a wider apricot border, so I'm going to adhere these together now. So I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to now adhere this right on top of my card. So what I'm going to do is actually place the sentiment right in the middle first. And I did add a little bit of that ink, the raspberry crush, right around the edge of this. And I'm going to take advantage of the adhesive in the kit. And this is that dimensional foam. So this is going to be right in the center. And now I can go ahead and add all of these pretty little flowers, and I'm going to arrange them first. Okay, so the stem that I had there was really bothering me, so I took it off, did some surgery, and I'm going to do a different grouping altogether. So if you're following this tutorial, I'll try to make it so that it makes sense. And I apologize if it's a little bit choppy. But here I did some other flowers, and I went ahead and inked them already. One of them needs a little bit more shape, so you can tell where I took that piece off there. Here's again that pink paper I had inked. I really like the way that that saturated that paper, and I want to take advantage of that. So over here I have one more of these shaped petals, and I did go ahead and ink and shape that, and this is the smaller of the two. So I'm just going to tuck that in here. I like the contrast of that instead. Here's a smaller version of that flower. That's going to go right in there. There we go. Just going to tuck those in. And then here is the larger version of the one I had previously applied. And I'm going to place that one there instead, just so that I can overlap them. Which of course it's neat because you can cut it down and make it fit the size you desire. And I like that better. Okay, that's making me happy now. I don't want to leave this little guy out. Now I like to add little tiny details to my cards, so I'm going to use the white gel pen from Tonic Studios and revisit those little petals that have those pretty grooves on them created by the die. So I've added the white highlights with the white gel pen from Nuvo just throughout the little flowers, just to make it a little more whimsical. And now I'm going to take a shimmer pen, and this is a glitter gloss pen, which is clear. And I'm going to visit some of the centers here of the flowers. And of course you have to bear in mind that that white ink is water soluble, so just beware of that. You may have to revisit a little bit. So this completes the first card. I love the way that it's turned out. It's simple but very, very easy to create, and also just fun to use those inks and the colors available. And then of course if you can mix and match with other items you may already have, then it's even more fun. But of course you can add as much or as little dimension as you like. But let's move on to another one. For this next card, I'm going to take some of the Raspberry Crush, and here I have it on another type of applicator. It's a larger dome than these small ones, so these are great for small details, of course. However, I like these better for a larger area. And what I've done is I've taken the oval die that is in the kit. I've cut into one of these card bases, and I'm going to concentrate this color just here in the center to create a bit of a shadow, but it's, of course, I'm using a very light pink because I don't have a lot of ink on this. And of course you apply as much or as little as you like, but I'm just keeping it super subtle here. And then revisit the area, a little more concentrated here in the center. And again, this is because I'm creating a very subtle shadow. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to use the same colors as before. And I've done the same technique, which was to cut the layers with the oval die as well as the card. And this is going to create my card front. So I cut down the pink panel to be just smaller than this apricot color. And I also actually cut away that portion with the stitching here, just so that I could ensure that this fit perfectly. And it's the same color wave, except for I'm doing the florals a little bit differently this time, and I'm going to do just a super simple card. Okay, so I have those layers, and I find that it's easier to get the matting layers the right size that way. And now this can go on my card front. This is going to fit perfectly now. And now what I want to do is take advantage of this aperture for my little flower. And I'm going to keep it super, super delicate looking. So I'm actually using a Copic marker that's called BG10 or Cool Shadow. I'm going to use that on the little stem that I'll be placing on here. And also on the little flower petals, just starting from the center out, because I want this to be a daisy with white petals. However, if you just leave it white, it'll be a little bit too flat. And that's going to be my upper layer. I'm actually going to use a second one as my bottom layer. And then two smaller ones, because again this is going to be a super delicate flower. Just a little stem with two blooms. I'm going to adhere this right on the front here. I'm going to apply my blooms right on top. And for this one, I'm actually going to shape it just a tiny bit. I'm actually going to shape it from the front just by pressing it down a little bit so that the petals pop up. So I'm pressing more toward the center there, like that. And a smaller one, just a gentle push. Just going to place that right on top. use that dimensional adhesive again, just a tiny piece, because you can cut these down. I'm still doing a really soft color palette, but these are the leaves that will match this particular flower, the daisy, and I'm going to adhere these on top, but I'm going to cut them down to size to fit the card that I'm making. So this one's going to fit right on here. The other one can fit over here because I can still shape these a bit. Stamp the sentiment of choice here using this Midnight Nocturne ink, and now I can die cut this out using the rectangular die. I can now place the sentiment right at the bottom and center that. I'm going to once again use this shimmer pen for the flowers, to add a little bit of shine to this white paper. And I'm going to use a little bit of crystal glaze to the centers here, just a tiny little bit there on each one. So this completes our second card, really nice and delicate, and just a tiny bit of shine there, but with the same color palette. Of course, not as dark or vibrant as this one, but still really pretty. For this next card, you can use a little bit of water just to mist your paper, but first I'm going to be using the 80-pound card, the classic card in red, and I'm going to cut it out with the bow die cut before I begin. Now I've cut it already out of the beautiful scarlet organza paper, but it did crack a little bit. So I thought to do something a little bit different, and I'm hoping that it works. Once you get this cut out, and on here you can place your bow, and then you can lightly mist it. I'm going to close the embossing folder. Just make sure it's centered nicely. Okay, so with a little bit of patience you can center that, and then take some low-tack tape and you can close this shut. Then move this onto your embossing plate, and if you're using the Tangerine, it's going to be the raspberry plate, and you can run this through your die cutting machine and you'll have a really nice puffy bow that you can use. So the results are really darling with that. Now for the card, I have the bubblegum pink card here, and I was thinking of using this as the base. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this portion away and adhere it onto my card center here. Just following that cut line there. Avoid any extra edges there. Gonna make sure that this is centered, of course. I'm going to adhere the side pieces. And of course, I'm going to use my bow as the guide here. Okay, Now I'm going to take the crimson bow and I'm actually going to fold these portions in. I'm going to use the dimensional adhesive to help me create this dimension here, of course, by folding these back. And then I'm going to add another one in the center here. So this is going to go right here where the other one would normally go. And only use one in the center. Okay, and now I have a really super dimensional bow here with a little bit of that crimson shadow. I'm going to grab one of these sentiments here and just use some black ink. Okay, and there's that cute little sentiment, perfect for a birthday as well. So when you need a really quick and simple card, 3D embossing folders are the best because they make it look like you worked really hard on it and give you all of that beautiful texture without having to do too much. It's another quick and simple card. So this completes my easy to follow tutorial on these very simple but beautiful cards. I do hope that you have enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below, by the way, if you would like a tutorial for this card here. It's a little bit more elaborate and it uses the supplies in the kit. It opens like so. And what I've done is that I did white on white florals here. I also used the sentiment for Mother's Day with gold embossing powder of my own there. And I also used the mirror card in the kit. The one tip that I will give you, because of course I get busy crafting just like anyone else, is if you're going to use the mirror card, use the dry double-sided adhesive tape to adhere it onto the base of your cards so that in case you get any adhesive pooling, it's not visible on the other side. So that's one little tip I like to give there. I did go a little bit too fast, and of course I like to be transparent on this channel and let you know in case you're new to card making and you can learn anything from me, then I'm happy to share that. So it does close like this. It's got a little hidden magnet and it's fairly easy to make. So don't forget also when you get your kit in your hands, because this goes out in the next month, so this will be shipping out the first working day of February, then you'll be able to share your makes on the Tonic Studios official Facebook group so that we can all see what it is that you're making with these kits as well. It's super fun to gain inspiration from each other. And as I always say, I do hope that you can be inspired and be blessed, and don't forget to subscribe. All links will be below in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching.